Hi there. We're Team Six. I'm Derek Harjo,
I'm Adam Polster.
I'm Anthony Dorsey.
and we're here to talk to you today about HVAC energy efficiency and its social impacts. So to kind of look at this big picture and to kind of bring it small, may experts speak to the importance of driving down carbon emissions in order to work towards restoring the global ambient temperature to within 2 degrees Celsius of its pre-industrial value. There's a lot of solutions for doing that. One is going to be to increase energy efficiency because that's going to cut costs and drive down energy use. And so the how on that, how do we accomplish that, is going to be through HVAC technologies, addressing residential homes, and then of course there's implications tied up in there.
Okay, now to talk a bit about some existing technologies. So in the current environment, there's been an increase in methods to target climate change through some of these HVAC technology developments. One of the main concerns regarding HVAC is the amount of energy that is required to maintain some of these systems. So among other mass energy consuming building systems, scientists say that HVAC systems can account for up to 53% of total energy consumed per building. Some of these techniques that have shown potential for HVAC system efficiency range from the implementation of geothermal systems to the proper utilization of thermal storage systems. A couple more examples of these are what we're all familiar with is geothermal and ground heat exchangers and phase change materials. So with ground heat exchangers, the system circulates a fluid through the system using the temperature of the ground to absorb the heat and release cold air as needed. And the phase change materials, it works similar in that it uses the system airflow changes to incite a state of matter change of the components, and they use that to store heat and release cool energy. And there's a diagram of that below.
So to talk about the split incentive, that occurs anytime there's a discrepancy between who pays the utility and of a building or unit, and then who owns said building or unit. To kind of depict that on the right here, I have a little visual shows on the top the kind of normal scenario where it's an owner occupied property. So obviously the owner owns it, and so they also pay utility bills for their usage or energy usage. The owner has therefore incentive to be conservative or to conserve their energy. So they might invest in efficiency upgrades in order to kind of drive down the utility bills that they themselves also have to pay. You can see at the bottom there is what we see a lot in residential rentals or potentially even low income housing. That's where they have the owner, owns a building or the unit. And they have a tenant. The tenant is going to pay their utility bills. So of course, the tenant has incentive to conserve, but the owner has no incentive to invest in upgrading that energy efficiency of that building or unit because they're not the ones paying the utility bill. And on the left, you can kind of talk briefly. The opposite is somewhat true. The tenant has no real incentive to invest money or capital or overhead into upgrading the energy efficiency of a unit that they are staying in, because with the nature of renting, they likely won't be there even by the time that they reach the break-even point. Really, what it comes down to is we need to bring all of the um, stakeholders to the table, and really, ideally, if we can, the ideal is where you split the burdens of energy usage and rewards of efficiency upgrades between both the owners and the renters. So what does that look like functionally? I mean, it will likely come down to regulatory approaches. So some potential solutions there include communication of utility costs prior to contractual agreement. So that would be, hey, the rent is going to be this amount. Oh, and by the way, the utilities also typically cost this amount. That's to ensure that, or it's to help prevent cases of energy poverty. And then as well, another approach could be to include utility costs into the rent, so that way the owner is really paying the utilities up to a threshold value. And the idea there is that the owner is then incentivized to become energy efficient up to a certain energy usage, in which case any usage above a certain amount that is on the tenant. And that would likely go into some of the cost benefit analysis. Yeah, at the time, this concludes our brief. Thank you.